वनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन भज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन यशोदानंदन भज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन जमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा यशोदानंदन भज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन भज यशोदानंदन भज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी Panchatattva-jaya, Panchatattva-jaya, Panchatattva-jaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Shri Nam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaura. Hare Krishna, everyone. Let's accept my humble obeisances to all our friends at Manchester and my special obeisances to our dear Damodar Vilas Prabhu, who is today joined all the way from Mumbai. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving your darshan. We've been missing you a lot, Damodar Vilas Prabhu. So nice to see you today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Gonadas Prabhu, shall we start?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So today will be today is our monthly Mangalarti class at ISKCON Manchester. We've been doing a series of 12 Mahajans, and today we'll be discussing one of the 12 Mahajan, who is Narada Muni. This is one Mahajan which practically everyone knows, who has got any idea about the spiritual life, any who has got any interest in spiritual advancement or spiritual knowledge, they know Narada Muni. So I'll be speaking something little about Narada Muni. I'm not really that qualified, but whatever I've heard from my guru and my senior Vaishnavas, I'll repeat that. We'll be mostly reading from the one chapter from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Narada Muni is describing his own past life, how he became Narada Muni. And then we'll be discussing some points from his past life, and then his activities after he became Narada Muni. So we'll start with the Mangalacharan, and then after we'll start our discussion today. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is the Mangalacharan prayers of Bhagavatam. So we'll recite that before we start our main discussion. So you can repeat along with me if you want to. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantosti Bhadrani Vidunoti Surutsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Uh, Hare Krishna. So, uh, I welcome you all to our Bhagavatam, monthly Bhagavatam class on Mangalarti Day. This is a very interesting times that we are going through. We all loved coming to Mangalarti once in a month to our Manchester temple. And we all loved to hear from Bhagavatam, and especially this series of 12 Mahajan. But now, for some mysterious reasons, we are all locked down into our houses. But the devotees' enthusiasm is so great that everybody is trying to, they take the best advantage of this lockdown and deep dive into the nectar of holy name and the Bhagavad Gita. So in that attempt, this is another attempt we are making. That today we'll be discussing about from Srimad Bhagavatam about Narada Muni. So I've just shared this picture from in fact Bhagavatam only. This is the picture before Bhagavatam came into this world. So here in the picture we see Narada Muni on the left side is holding a veena and is instructing to Vyasdev. Vyasdev, who is the compiler of all our Vedic literature in the book form. Before the Vedic literature, before Vyasdev or before Kali Yuga, the Vedic literature was in the form of a Shruti, that the Guru will impart the Vedic knowledge to disciple through sound. The disciple will hear once from the Guru, and the disciple remember it for the rest of the life. And similarly, that disciple will become a guru and pass it to his next generation, the next set of disciples, and so forth and so on. But Vyasdev, when he saw that in Kali Yuga, the degradation will be so low that people won't be able to remember what happened even a minute back. Uh, Nowadays is a time of social media. Everything is in the digital form. Nobody even remembers what happened. Even the communications and knowledge is transferring so fast, but people are losing the remembrance, or even they can't remember the basic etiquettes also. So Vyasdev, he compiled the whole Vedic literature into various books, and one of his greatest contribution to the human society is the Srimad Bhagavatam. But before Srimad Bhagavatam came, the Narad Muni, Vyasdev was not um, very happy for all the compilation of all the books, and he was feeling not satisfied even after this great achievement of compiling all the Vedic literature into book form. So at that time, Narad Muni, he appeared on the scene and he instructed Vyasdev why he is not feeling happy. Because he said that you have not glorified the bhakti directly. You have indirectly given so many rules and regulations on how to advance in spiritual life. But you have not glorified the bhakti directly. Unless and until you glorify the bhakti and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you will never be satisfied. So in that maturity of Srila Vyasdev, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we have today, even after 5,000 years later, we are taking the benefit of Srimad Bhagavatam and perfecting our life. So Srimad Bhagavatam, it is called the essence of all the Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is so vast. The one life of 100 years is not enough to even touch even the surface of that ocean. So Vyasdev, being so merciful to the people of Kali Yuga, he gave us this Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, it is said that when Krishna left this world, Krishna left Srimad Bhagavatam for us. So we can still associate with the Krishna in the form of book Bhagavatam. So, reading Bhagavatam and associating with the Krishna are identical. When you are holding the book Bhagavatam in your hand and taking the benefit from it, then actually you are personally associating with Sri Krishna. So Bhagavatam is our direct connection to Krishna. But how did Bhagavatam came about? Bhagavatam came about from Vyasdev. But where did the Vyasdev get the inspiration from? He get the inspiration from Sri Narada Muni. So actually, we should be so much thankful to Sri Narada Muni that because of him, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam in our hand. Without him, we would never had Srimad Bhagavatam. So Narad Muni is the most compassionate person. One of the quality of Narad Muni is that he is a transcendental spaceman. He travels all over the world, helping anyone. Doesn't matter which background he's from. He's helping everyone and anyone who has any tinge of any inclination of going back home, back to Godhead, or he wants to serve Krishna, or he wants to know about Krishna. The Narad Muni is ready to help. Uh, Narad Muni, even till today, he is present amongst ourselves. He's not gone away anywhere. He's traveling all over the universe. Uh, Even to the spiritual world, he travels. So he's a transcendental spaceman. And not only is transcendental spaceman, he is preaching everywhere. So, for those, we devotees from ISKCON, Prabhupada says preaching is the essence. And Narad Muni is the personification of that principle. Preaching is the essence. He goes everywhere and teaches about Lord Krishna. So Narad Muni, in our 1 hour or 1.5 hour, we won't be able to cover the full extent of his um, contribution and mercy to this material world, but we'll be just touching some part, of his wonderful character. So we just touched that, because of the Narad Muni, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Narad Muni is a wonderful, preacher, uh, and especially for the followers of ISKCON, we follow the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So our Sampradaya comes from Lord Brahma. Then Lord Brahma imparted this knowledge to Narad Muni, his son. Then Narad Muni is in this picture, is imparted this knowledge to Vyasdev. Then from Vyasdev, all the disciplic succession came about. And from Vyasdev, again, he gave this knowledge to Madhvacharya. And from Madhvacharya, his disciplic succession, then Madhavendra Puri, then Ishwara Puri, then Lord Chaitanya, then Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and the whole cycle is coming through. Then we have Jagannadas Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Gorkishdas Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, then our own gurus, and then it is us. So actually speaking, we are connected to Narad Muni in our parampara. He is our spiritual great grandfather. So actually we are personally connected to Narad Muni. And Narad Muni is, this is our legacy. ISKCON means preaching. The one of the activity, of all the important things, what is the topmost activity is preaching. And where does this preaching come from? The essence comes from the Sri Narad Muni. That Narad Muni is the greatest preacher. He doesn't even, his preaching is not even limited to one planet. He goes to any planet. He goes to higher planet, lower planet, even outside the material universe. He goes everywhere. And why? Because he just wants to preach the glories of Krishna. And Narad Muni is such a pure, and of course he's a Mahajan devotee. We can't even imagine, his purity. And he has, the army of disciples, who are the great devotees. And we know only few of them. Vyas Devi is one of him, one of the disciples. Then if you look at the Prahlad Maharaj, who is his spiritual master, his guru, Narad Muni. Dhruv Maharaj, who is his guru, Narad Muni. So if you see in our Bhagavatam or in our Vedic stories, if you pick up any great devotee, mostly you might find that his guru is Narad Muni. So Narad Muni is such a uh, uh, compassionate person. And so many living entities, they want to take shelter at his lotus feet. So at the end of the class, we might just narrate one or two stories about the glories of his disciples. It is said that you can find out the quality or the glories of a guru by finding out what kind of disciples he has. So, even if you don't discuss any of the disciple stories, but just looking at the Vyasdev, because of the Vyasdev, we are here with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And who is Vyasdev's guru? Sri Narada Muni. So, we should be, bowing down our head every day, at the lotus feet of Narada Muni for saving us. So at this time, uh, uh, okay, so we will now would like to read a passage from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Narad Muni is describing his past life. How did Narad Muni become Narad Muni? Uh, so, because we want to narrate about the Narad Muni, it'll be nice to start from the beginning. How did Narad Muni become Narad Muni? So, there's a nice description in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll share. I hope I have that it with me in front of me. Maybe not here. This is chapter 5 from first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and from shloka 23. So at this time, I would request, yes, this one. If any devotee would like to read in the Zoom, so you can read for some time. So maybe we can take turns. So from 23 to 30, if anybody would like to read, then they can just unmute your sound and reveal that you would like to read the next.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Meena Mataji. Yes.
Yes, please go ahead. Prabhuji.
Sorry. Text 23. O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmanas, who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Text 24. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. Text 25. Only once, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. Text 28. O Vyasadeva, in that association, and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna. And then, listening attentively, my taste for hearing the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Text 27. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Text 28. Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished. Text 29. I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the sense, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. Text 30. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. Text 31.
Mataji,
By
we
that confidential...
will stop here. We'll stop here. Thank you so much.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So here in this particular passage in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni is describing his previous life. Narad Muni here, it is described, maybe I'll just share. He described that in his previous life, he was son of a maid servant, that he was from not a very influential or affluential background. He was son of a maid servant, and it so happened that once the Bhakti Vedantas or the devotees of Krishna, they were traveling, and they happened to stay nearby where they were living. And his mother and Narad Muni himself, that time his name was not Narad Muni, but the Narad Muni in his previous life. They both served these Bhakti Vedantas. Generally, these devotees, they don't stay at one place for a long time, but it is the tradition or the rule that during the 4 month of rainy season, they don't travel. They stay at one place. It's called Chaturmas. Right now also, actually, we are also passing through the Chaturmas. The rainy season, well, this rainy season in India, in UK, it is rainy season every day. So in India, this is the Chaturmas is right now is going on. So during this time, the sannyasis or the Parivajakacharyas, they don't travel. So they got the opportunity, to serve these Bhakti Vedantas, and they were serving them so nicely. And then Narad Muni, he's saying that he heard them very nicely. I'll just read that. Narad Muni says, "Oh Vyasdev, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna. And thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step." So, my dear devotees, here we see, uh, the principles of Navada Bhakti, and especially the hearing. It is so wonderfully, exemplified. Here is a son of a maid servant who is practically has no hope, in progressing materially or spiritually. But he just happened to hear the story of Krishna from the mouth of a pure devotee, and he got completely attracted to Krishna. So hearing is the most important activity in our spiritual life. Let's simply, keep our ears near to Krishna Katha will bring all the good fortune in our life. It gave so much good fortune to Narad Muni that from the son of a maid servant, in the next life, he's becoming Narad Muni. And who is Narad Muni? We just touched that part earlier. He is the guru of so many great devotees. And where did it all started? It started by hearing Krishna Katha from the mouth of a pure devotee. So if you ever want to see the example, what impact does it give by hearing Krishna Katha? Look at the story of Narad Muni. Just by hearing, very attentively, he got all the perfection. And then he goes on and describing, "Oh great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings for both the Lord and our transcendental." So as soon as he heard attentively from the Bhakti Vedantas, he got the most transcendental or confidential knowledge. And what is that knowledge? That I am not this body, I'm a spirit soul. Now we might say, I've heard it so many times. People say, this is such a, everybody knows that. But how many of you have realized this thing? That I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. This knowledge we might have, but it is, we just take it's a theory for us. We don't act on this knowledge. The real knowledge is that realized knowledge. I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. So then Narad Muni says that I realize that I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. Me and Krishna, we are both transcendental. So this happens, as soon as we hear from the mouth of a pure devotee, the highest, the most confidential or the topmost knowledge is revealed to us. Then going forward, thus during two seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great soul sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the covering of the mode of passion and ignorance vanished. Uh, so, um, so here Narad Muni is saying that I served them for two seasons, rainy season and autumn season. And during these two seasons, these Bhakti Vedantas, what were they doing? They're constantly chanting the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. Uh, so here also, we see the scene from the other side. Those perfected devotees. What is their only business? That when they're they're confined to at one place, Chaturmas, they cannot go anywhere. What are they doing? They are constantly chanting the glories of Krishna, nothing else. So this is, it's Prabhupada, he's saying this very wonderful bhajan. I think it was Narottam Das Thakur. Golo Kera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. That wealth, in this material world, what is our wealth? Our wealth is, maybe a big house or a car or a bank balance, in a flourishing business or a job. That is our wealth. And this wealth, after some time goes away. It's a very temporary wealth. But in Goloka, where Krishna and his devotees are residing, what is their wealth? Their wealth is Harinam Sankirtana. This chanting the glories of Krishna, it is their wealth. They don't want anything else. So here the devotees, what is their most important thing that they are doing? They are simply chanting the glories of Krishna in those 4 months. And and this chanting of Hare Krishna, or chanting the glories of Krishna, it is so glorious that that if you are not pure enough, it will purify you. And once you are purified, you become so attached to it that you eternally just want to chant the glories of Krishna. So the holy name of Krishna, it is both a medicine as well as the food. Generally, when we are sick, we eat some tablet as a medicine. But nobody eats tablet as a food. Once you are cured of your disease, your flu or whatever disease that we have, we stop that medicine and we start eating the normal food. But holy name, it is such a so transcendental that if you are diseased of this material disease of enjoyment and loading over the material nature, you take this medicine of Harinam. It will purify you of that disease. And once you're purified, the same holy name becomes your food. You can't live without that food of Harinam. So here we see that this Bhakti Vedantist, their only business was to chant the glories of Krishna. So here then Narad Muni is saying that as soon as he was hearing that, he said, as the flow of my devotion service began, the coverings of the mode of passion and ignorance vanished. So Narad Muni says that I was completely freed from mode of passion and ignorance. That means he was completely situated in the mode of goodness. That that problem that this world gives because of the passion and ignorance, he was completely freed from that. And said, I was very much attached to those sages, and I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. And here, the important line that I would like to stress is that I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. So, another point we hear, we learn. Narad Muni says, all my sins were eradicated in their service. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vrajam Aham Tam Sarva Papebhya Moksha Ishami Ma Suchaha. That if once you abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. And I will take care of all your past karma, all your past sins. So how does that thing happen in practical life? It happens in practical life that once we surrender our life to our guru, when we hear from that, that is the process of surrender. When he says, Krishna says surrender, where is the surrender? When you can say, at particular time, I've surrendered my life to Krishna. That particular moment is that when you give your life to the guru who is coming in parampara. So Narada Muni, he completely surrendered his life to his guru, those Bhakti Vedantist. And he heard from that. And as soon as he heard from that, those sins were eradicated. So that particular sloka from Bhagavad Gita, we see how in practically, it's happening. So when you accept a guru and hear from him, sins starts getting eradicated. Okay, so quite a few more slokas are there. So we move from now 31st till 40. So anybody would like to read from these shlokas, you can just unmute and you can start reading.
Yes, please share the screen.
I can.
Oh, I need to share the screen. Just a second. Yes. So Gunata Shubhu, you can manage the.
Yes. Anybody? Please unmute your mic. Then I will pick a devotee to read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Okay, Madhimar.
Yeah. By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord's. Wait a minute. Lord Sri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything, by knowing that one can return to him and personally meet him. Text 32. O Brahmana Vyasadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
Madhai Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
I think there is a little problem with your mic, and I have to unfortunately ask someone else to read. There is a lot of echo and noise. Bharti Mataji, please carry on from 33.
33? Prabhuji, was it 33?
Yes, Mataji, yes.
Yeah, text 33. O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by that very same thing? 34. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage became the destroyer of the tree of work. 35. Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called Bhakti Yoga, or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. 36. While performing duties according to the order of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his names, and his qualities. 37. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshna. Text 38. Thus, he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who has no material form. Text 39. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Text 40. Please therefore describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men, and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Thank you, Haribo.
Thank you so much, Parth. Punashwani Mata Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. So, Shloka 31, the Narada Muni here is saying, by that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Sri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. So, my dear devotees, here what is Narad Muni saying? That this devotional service is so wonderful that once you hear the glories of Krishna and you serve your spiritual master, what does the give? That by knowing that, one can return to him, to Krishna, and personally meet him. That you can personally meet Krishna face to face. This the other day I was hearing from Srila Prabhupada's class. And he was so very much emphasizing that this bhakti process is so wonderful. He said, we can meet Krishna face to face. Then Prabhupada said, just like you and me, like now we are talking to each other face to face, you can go to Krishna and talk to him face to face. This is the glory of bhakti. That it gives that supreme most benediction that you can see Krishna face to face. Not just that liberation of merging into impersonal Brahman, or great siddhis of this material world. No, you will see Krishna face to face. So this is the power of bhakti. And then Narad Muni, he goes on describing that he completely was situated and satisfied, in the devotional service, and he got completely attached to the devotional service. Actually, at this stage, Narad Muni was completely liberated. When he heard from this Bhakti Vedantas, he was completely liberated. And also earlier, it is mentioned that he ate the remnants from those Bhakti Vedantists, their prasadam remnants. That is also the very big influence, him becoming very purified. So especially for our ISKCON devotees, prasadam is our undisputed highlight of our spiritual life. To eat Krishna prasadam, and then also to eat Maha prasadam from devotees, that is also very much exemplified by Narad Muni. Now we also have a very wonderful discussion between Narad Muni and Vyasdev of what happened after those Vedantis, Bhakti Vedantis left, and how did he become Narad Muni. So I think this chapter, it is a little long, but 38 shlokas. But I think we can do it. I think it's nearly 9 o'clock, but we can do it. So maybe one devotee can do the first 10 shloka of this chapter.
Hare Krishna, who would like to read? Please unmute yourself.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Suta said, O Brahmana, the hearing all about Shri Narad's birth and activities, Vyasdev, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Shri Vyasdev said, where did you, Narada, do after the departure of the... What did you do, Narada, after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth? O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course? O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? Shri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for another place, and I had to pass my life in this way. I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent, influenced by supreme time. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhupada Mataji. So here, Narad Muni is describing that once after some time, the Bhakti Vedantis they left, those great sages they left, and then he was he was the only caretaker of his mother. He was the only child of his mother, and mother was completely dependent on him. And he used to go to a Brahmana school and used to serve his mother. But once, while mother was going for milking a cow, a snake a snake bit his mother, and his mother died. So this seems, a very like a tragedy. If you are not careful if you don't know the mercy of Krishna, one might say, he became a devotee, and see what happened. Krishna took away his mother. Krishna is a very cruel person. But look at from the angle of Narad Muni. What did Narad Muni said? He said, I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north. So Narad Muni is very grateful to Krishna. He said, Krishna, I don't understand why this happened, but I know that whatever you do, you do it for the best for your devotees. So we also learn a very great lesson from this. And once you become devotee, it does not mean that you become a devotee, your life becomes completely, problemless, that you have no problem in your life. On the contrary, it might happen, you might have some more problems in your life. But we should have a complete faith in Krishna, that whatever Krishna does, it is for my complete and my ultimate benefit. That the things which might look, a negative or a problematic or a difficulty, but Krishna knows what is best for us. We are not intelligent, or we are not qualified enough to see the bigger picture. That Krishna, he is so merciful to his devotees that sometimes he plans or orchestrates the whole situation in such a way, to a less intelligent person looks like it's a great problem or a great difficulty, but actually it is a great benediction. So Narad Muni is saying, I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benedictions for his devotees. So look at his words. He said, I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. So we, whenever, we should do our devotional service with all our, might, all our, capacity. We should completely devote ourselves to the service of Krishna. But if anything untoward happens, some negative situation happens in our life, individually or collectively, we should see as a mercy of Krishna. Because Krishna, he will not do anything which hurts to his devotees. Hurt in the sense that in his spiritual life, the things which you think is negative or hurting to our life, actually ultimately it is beneficial in our long run. So we should see everything which is happening in our life as the mercy of Krishna. Anything good happens to Krishna, we should be very grateful to Krishna. Yes, Krishna, you're so kind, you're doing good to me. When anything bad happens, then we should be doubly grateful to Krishna. Krishna, I'm very grateful to you. Uh, Generally, we might say, that when anything bad happens in our life, then it is very difficult to come into consciousness. But when we hear Bhagavatam, when we are in association with devotees, then we will be able to keep that balance of mind. We'll be able to keep that equilibrium. So, so this is the attitude of Sri Narada Muni. Let's go on the next 10 shloka. If those who like to read, please unmute and I can read.
Should I read, Panditji?
Yes,
Yes.
you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolis, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. Text 13. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play-yard of snakes, owls, and jackals. Text 14. Thus traveling, I felt tired, both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river, lake, and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. Text 15. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the supersoul situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from the liberated souls. Text 16. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. O Vasudeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. The transcendental form of the Lord, as it is, satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. I desired to see again that transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore, and thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words, just to mitigate my grief. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Santhi Mataji.
Thank you.
So here Narada Muni is saying that once his mother, died, then he left the house, and he started towards walking towards north, which in general terms he started walking towards the Himalayas, and in that Himalayan regions, these this nice mountains and rivers, and the metropolis or the cities are there, on the road. But ultimately he came to a place, where uninhibited forest, and he started meditating on Krishna. So it appears that those Vedantis, devotees, they taught Narad Muni how to do a meditation, how to focus, to meditate on the Paramatma on our heart. So so Narad Muni started meditating on the Paramatma on the heart, and then he was so, because he was completely purified. Earlier we learned that he was completely free of mode of passion and ignorance, and he was completely situated in the unadulterated loving service of Krishna. Hmm? Uh, so uh, these are his words. He says, Narad Muni says, as soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes. Without delay, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared on the lotus of my heart. So here Narad Muni is saying that, that as soon as I started meditating on Krishna, uh, and he could feel the love of Krishna. He could feel the care and shelter, and in the presence of Krishna. And he says that tears rolled down my eyes. Then he says, without delay, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared on the lotus of my heart. So he could see Krishna face to face. Here we just mentioned earlier, that devotional service will give you, audience with Krishna face to face. He could see Krishna. huh? Uh, and then Maharaj Muni says, "O Vyasdev, at that time, being exceedingly powered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord." So he's describing his ecstasies. Um, uh, well, I haven't seen Krishna yet, so I can't describe that ecstasy, but we can just take the words of Narad Muni, what kind of ecstasy he must be feeling. So this is beyond our material imagination. What kind of feeling that would be. And then Narad Muni says the transcendental form of Lord as it is satisfy the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. So here Narad Muni is saying that could see Krishna face to face, but suddenly Krishna, I could not see. That vision was gone. I could not see Krishna anymore. Then he said, I suddenly got up, being perturbed. He came out of his meditation. I was like, where is Krishna gone? And then he says, as is usual, when one loses that which is desirable. So when we have something most desirable, most precious in our life, and suddenly we lose it, what happens to us? So Narad Muni says the same feeling came to me, that most precious to me, which was the association of Krishna, I lost it, and become completely perturbed. So what did he say? He's saying again. He says, I desired to see again the transcendental form of the Lord. But despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore, and thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. So here, in the purport of this shloka, Prabhupada, very wonderfully describes that Narad Muni, he again tried, he thought, that I could meditate. And when I meditate and the focus on the Paramatma, I was managed to see Krishna face to face. But I cannot see him now. So let me go and do meditation again. But when he tried it again with more, attention, more, effort, but he could not see Krishna. So but Narad Muni said, I desired to see again the transcendental form of the Lord. But despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore. And thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. So Prabhupada explains that bhakti, it is not a mechanical process that if you sit down and focus and Krishna, as a mechanical process, after some time he'll give darshan to you. No, Krishna will give only audience if he wants to. It is completely dependent on his desire and his will. So Narad Muni tried, ever before, with more eagerness and with more sincerity, but he could not see Krishna. So here is a great, very important lesson that bhakti is never ever mechanical. Bhakti, we can only with our sincere heart, we can, serve Krishna. But to accept and to reciprocate with us, it is Krishna's complete independence. So one cannot say, I will chant my Hare Krishna rounds for 40 years and I'm following four negative principle. It is my birthright, to go back to Godhead. That attitude doesn't work. With love and devotion, we serve Krishna. Then we leave it to Krishna. Now, Krishna, it is your desire. Either you want to, you know, um, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mentions in Sikshastakam that my Lord, it is up to you whether you want to, please me with the embrace, with your embrace, or you want to break my heart by being not present in front of me. It is completely your desire. So it is for a devotee, but what we can do is we can simply serve Krishna, then leave it to Krishna the way he wants to reciprocate. Because bhakti, it is never mechanical process. So, in this, some of the lines, we get some of the best, teachings of our spiritual life. And then Narada Muni says, seeing my attempts in that only place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane descriptions, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words, just to mitigate my grief. But Narada Muni now is saying that I can hear, the Lord spoke to me. So what did Lord spoke to him? Let's discuss that now. Let's read that now from Shloka 21 till 30. Any other you would like to read now?
Ribol, you can unmute. Someone can unmute. You're still there, hopefully. Devotees are still there.
If nobody wants to read it, Prabhuji, I can read it.
Me, okay. Okay, Madhavi Mataji. No, Madhavi Mataji raised her hand. Hopefully your mic is fixed now. Let's
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay now, Prabhuji, is clear?
Is it clear, Radhamon Prabhu?
Mataji, recite one shloka, then we'll let you know.
Okay, Prabhuji. Text 21. O Narada, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime, you will not be able to see my anymore those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material things can hardly see me. Is it okay, Prabhuji?
Mother, it is still a little unclear. How is it your end? Is it?
No, it's the same for me also. It's not still clear, Mataji. I'm sorry.
Okay, Prabhuji. No worries, Prabhuji.
You got
Somebody
enthusiasm, but yes, yes.
Somebody else read it.
Gunesh Radha Mataji, you want to go ahead?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Do you want me to read?
Yes, yes, Ramnitan Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay.
22.
22. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me, because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. Text 23. By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation, as well as in the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I travel all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious. And so, O Brahmana, Vasudev, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death. As lightning and illumination occurred simultaneously. having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work karma stopped. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. After 4,300,000,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again, by the will of the Lord, all the rishis like Machin, Marichi, Angreya, Adi, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ramnitirath Prabhu. So
Thank
this
you
is
for
Shloka 38. So, then the Lord, spoke to Narad Muni. O Narada, the Lord spoke. I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material ties can hardly see me. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. So here the Lord said that Narada, you have seen me once. Huh? Lord says only those who are completely freed from material desires, only those can see me. So you have seen me once. That means you are complete. You have no material tents, but still you need to be very much. No, then Lord says, "Oh, virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires." So Lord says there is some time before you come back to me. So the separation from me will make you more hanker, for my association, and make you more purified. And then Narad Muni, the Lord says, by service of the absolute truth, even for few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds. See the mercy of the Lord here. What is the Lord saying? By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days. Says, even for a few days, if you do by service, ultimately you will receive my personal association. This is the mercy of the Lord. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even the time of creation, as well as at the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy. So Lord is assuring him that whatever you have gained, the intelligence, the devotion that you have gained, will be never be lost. And he is saying, says even at the time of creation as well as the time of annihilation, even if not only your body, generally when we die, we lose all our possessions, our education, our influence, whatever we have, we lose everything. But our spiritual credit we never lose. Not only when we change the body, but even then, when there's a creation and annihilation, even if the whole universe is destroyed, and then we go to the when we come back again, if you're not purified, we come back again, still our spiritual credit, it still remains intact. That spiritual credit never goes, it gets never annihilated. Then that supreme authority personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head. So Narad Muni, he accepted whatever Lord said. My Lord, if this is your desire, I accept it, with the most humble heart. And then Narad Muni, he practiced the Lord's service in separation. He chanted his name, his glories throughout his life. And at the end, he said, he died. So he says, Narad Muni says, sorry, this is the one. And so Brahmana Vyasdev, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material ties, met with a death as lightning and illumination occurred simultaneously. So Narada Muni said he died, in that situation, in the separation of Krishna. Uh, Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made up of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work karma stopped. So Narada Muni says, I didn't had any material body, because as long as you have material body, you are subjected to karma. But he received a transcendental body, and so he's no longer subjected to karma. And then Narad Muni is saying that in the shloka 38, that after 4.3 billion years later, those who know a little bit about transcendental geology or history, that Lord Brahma, his day is quite long. So his one day is 4.3 billion years, and same is his night. So the Narad Muni was the son of a maid servant in the previous day of Brahma. But once he died, Narad Muni died. He did not take next birth till the next day of Brahma. So he waited till the Lord Brahma for his next day, and then he's saying he was born as one of the son of Brahma, like he says. Like all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them. So Narad Muni, he became the son of Lord Brahma. So again, this is the proof that even after 4.3 billion years later, the spiritual credit of Narad Muni was intact. It was not lost. He was still the pure devotee. Now, okay, it's nearly 9:30, but let's complete till the end of this chapter. So some devotee can read from 31 till the end.
Guruji, my padu?
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
From 31?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, text 31. Since then, by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in 3 divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotion service of the Lord. Text 32. And thus I travel constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called Veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which is given to me by Lord Krishna. The Supreme Lord Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appear on the seat of my heart, and if called for, as soon as I begin the chant his holy name, his holy activities. It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses and their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. It is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbance of the desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. For this, satisfaction is derived from the devotional service of the personality of Godhead. Text 36. O Vasudeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus, I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you have asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vasudeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his Veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will. All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni, because of his glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead, and so doing he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed soul of the universe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So Narad Muni now is saying that since then, by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. So Narad Muni, since he got birth from Lord Brahma, he is constantly traveling. He is not staying at one place. And he says he goes to the he says both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of the material world. So all the three worlds of this one, lower, middle, and higher planetary system, and as well as the spiritual world. Narad Muni doesn't require any visa or passport, to go to any planet or any even beyond the universe. He can travel anywhere. Why? Because he is constantly trying to preach the message of Krishna. He says, this is because I'm fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. So this is the real liberation. This is the real independence. Once we become devotee of the Lord, and our in our heart and in our activities, we want to just relish the love of God, and we want to distribute this love of God. Then we become completely liberated. You can go anywhere and everywhere. This is what Narad Muni is doing. And thus, then Narad Muni says, and thus I travel constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called Veena, which is charged with transcendental sound, which was given to me by Lord Krishna. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart as if called for, as soon as I began to chant his holy activities. And the last one, this is a very important one. Please listen it very carefully. It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So this is, my dear devotees, this is for you and me, especially for me. You might be, you all are wonderful devotees. Narada Muni says, it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties, that is, population at large, we are all full of anxieties and cares due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects. Those who are desiring sense gratification can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. They can get relief from that miserable condition. How? By the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So this is, the direct instructions from Narad Muni. His instruction is completely realized. How did Narad Muni become a Narad Muni? Just by hearing, in his past life, from the mouth of a pure devotee. Then practicing those instructions of those devotees in his life. Then constantly practicing those instructions. Now he is completely liberated. So liberated, he can travel anywhere and everywhere. Doing what? Distributing the glories and the messages of Krishna. And he's saying, how do we, and what is the secret? The constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So this is what our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, is so much stressing on chanting. Yes, I have one tape, and it says, if you have time, chant Hare Krishna. This is what Prabhupada, and in his class, very, if you have time, chant Hare Krishna. Why? Stop wasting time. If you have time, chant Hare Krishna. Don't waste your time, in these, some frivolous activities. So chanting is so important. And this last one, it is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of the desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. So Narad Muni is saying that by the mystic yoga process, it can restrict your senses, and it can get relief, or it can restrain your desire and lust. But he says this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. Just mere abstinence from sense gratification will not give satisfaction to the soul. Narada Muni says, for this, satisfaction is derived from devotional service of the personality of Godhead. If you want real satisfaction, that satisfaction can only be achieved by the devotional service or by bhakti. Bhakti is the only thing which can give the soul a satisfaction. The knowledge, or studying of the shastras or mystic yoga or mystic siddhi can give you some, elevated position, some relief, but no satisfaction of the heart, of the soul. So the devotional service is the only way we can get satisfaction for the soul. So I think I'm going much beyond my time. So I think I stop here. Uh, uh, I wanted to discuss some 1 or 2 pastimes of Narad Muni's disciples, but I think this time is not sufficient. So I stop here. Gunatash Prabhu, shall we stop here or we can have some time for questions or some comments?
Yes, there is time for questions or comments. If anybody wants to ask any question or any comment, they are feel free to unmute and speak up.
So, Prabhu, may I actually comment on something?
Yes, sure, Mataji.
Yes.
So, gist of what we have read today is like, if you follow the instruction, like how Narad Muni followed the instruction of those sages, and they showed him how to meditate. So he followed their instructions completely and started chanting. So that is the actual gist, right? If you follow the instructions of your guru and you do chanting, sincerely chanting, hankering after the Lord, actually, that's when he will, by his own desire, it's not technical, by his own desire, come and be seated in your heart. Can we understand it this way?
Yes, Miss Mother, that is the right understanding. So if you see Narad Muni's case, that actually when he started hearing from those sages, he had no desire for elevation, or he had no such even idea that what is life beyond this material world. He had no idea.
He was ignorant, everything. He just did it just like that, just in
he just he's by his good fortune, he just managed to render some services to them and hear from them. Once he heard from them, his heart got completely purified. He understood who is Krishna, and what is his relationship with the Lord. So he got the knowledge, and then what the instructions that sages gave, he followed those instructions in his life. So there are two things, he got the knowledge, and then he practiced the instructions, or the directions of the sages. So we require a knowledge. Once you have a knowledge, then we know who we are. But then knowledge has to be practiced. Just receiving the knowledge is not sufficient. We have to practice that knowledge, and that will take us to the that will actually begin our journey. And and not only that, once your life is perfected, then what is Narad Muni doing? He's distributing that mercy to everyone. So that is actually the mood of all the devotees. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came in this world, he came to distribute the mercy of the Lord. What is Prabhupada doing? He just came to the West, and started distributing. Actually, Prabhupada is a perfect, representative of Narad Muni, without any restrictions, any looking at qualification or disqualification. Prabhupada is distributing to everyone, and the whole, planet Earth is distributing. Like Narad Muni is transcendental, is all universe. Prabhupada, he's did it in Earth, and right now, he might be doing all over the universe also. We don't know. So that knowledge and the following those instructions, they both are very important. Both of them are required.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I think there one more. Manjunath Prabhu, did you want to ask a question? You unmuted before.
Is it me?
Yeah, you unmuted.
No. I just wanted to know what is the special occasion today regarding Narad Muni. I know he's one of the Mahajans. I just wondered whether in a special day we're celebrating, or is it just...
So today, Prabhuji, there is actually every day is a special day. when we chant and glorify Krishna and his devotees, it's a special day. But for our information, actually every month at ISKCON Manchester, once in a month we get together and we do Mangal Aarti at the temple. But because of the lockdown, we're not able to do that Mangal Aarti. And after the Mangal Aarti, we discuss the various parts of Srimad Bhagavatam. So right now, we're going through the 12 Mahajan series. So every month, we pick up one Mahajan and we discuss about his life. So today, Narada Muni is one of the 12 Mahajan. So today we are discussing his life and pastimes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Anyone else got any questions or comments? So, okay. I'll just have a couple of announcements. So firstly, Radha Muni Prabhu, thank you so much for taking us through the story of Narada Muni and giving so many wonderful points that we can actually implement in our own devotional service. You're nicely connected, what we can learn from his life. It was really enlivening. There are a number of points. So especially like, special mercy. He took the snake bite when mother was passed away and his mother passed away. He took it as a special mercy. You did mention that, sometimes when we come to devotion, we think that, it will be problemless. So you're nicely connected that how we should take if a problem comes in our own devotional service. And another point you mentioned, even after 4.3 billion years, the devotional service is not lost. There are other points also that you mentioned, the chanting of his glories for, those who like to free from the cares and anxieties of this material world. The only boat to cross over this material existence is constant chanting of Lord Krishna's message. So wonderfully narrated. Thank you so much for your time and for your hard work for taking us through this wonderful story of Narada Muni. Thank you. Thank you all the devotees for tuning in today. Appreciate your time. Just a quick announcements, couple of quick announcements. Tomorrow, Sunday, we have a wonderful guest speaker from ISKCON Chowpatty. His Grace Vishwarup Prabhu has kindly agreed to speak on the pastimes of Lord Balram. So Monday, 3rd August is Balram Jayanti. So on the occasion, this is a kind of bonus. It will prepare our consciousness on Sunday. So it is going to start at 12 rather than at 1 o'clock. Just please make a note of it. It will be at 12. And he's a wonderful speaker. Many of us know him, and we went to Yatra with him. So I request, please share this news with your friends and family. Yeah. And on 3rd, it's Balram Jayanti. We have a special class on Monday, 3rd August. It will be at 7 o'clock. His Grace Deen Prabhu will be speaking on that. And Janmashtami, Prabhupada appearance is there on the 12th and 13th. So we are doing it virtual this time because of the current situation. The more details should be out in the next couple of days. Radha Muni Prabhu, do you want to say anything about Janmashtami?
Yes, Prabhuji, as you said, it will be virtual Janmashtami. So Janmashtami will be celebrated by staying from your home, but we'll try to, design in such a way that, we get as much as participation from all the devotees. So just like what we have gathered here today, on the Zoom call, the whole festival will be a telecast. The different devotees will be taking part into offering the different service like Abhishek, class, we'll have a swing, and then we have a Aarti. So everything will be there. You just need to be just near the Zoom. So connected on that Zoom call, and and just we give just preemptive, some more information. If you want to display, your own altar, on that day, like a decorate nice altar, for Janmashtami. And on that day, at a particular slot, you can give darshan of your altar to everyone. So that way, even though we are not going to a physical place to celebrate Janmashtami, but we can go to each other's house, and take the darshan of that altar. So that way, we'll try to make it more interactive, more participative. So those information will be out, in a, hopefully by Sunday evening, and it'll have all the information how to take part. But again, it is even if you don't have to show altar or anything, just log in on to that. The link of the Zoom call will be provided. Just log in, and you'll be the part of the whole festival.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Prabhu, and thank you all the devotees, and hope to see you all tomorrow at 12:30. Thank you very much, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the
Hare
beautiful.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Everyone, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.